So, what actually happens if you don't have sex for years? Let's say, for whatever reason, you're in a long dry spell. Maybe you're single and not really putting yourself out there. Maybe you're perfectly happy flying solo. Maybe life got busy, stress piled up, and the months just turned into years. You're not alone. It's surprisingly common. Surveys suggest as many as 1 out of 6 adults go a year or more without sex, and plenty go far longer. But what does it actually do to you physically, mentally, emotionally? Let's start with the body. There's a persistent myth that abstaining from sex somehow harms physical health. In reality, for most people, it doesn't. You're not going to spontaneously combust or start growing moss. The essential bodily systems keep ticking along just fine without sex. Your hormones still fluctuate, your heart still beats, your immune system still does its job. There are, of course, subtle effects. Sex is, after all, a form of exercise. A particularly vigorous session could burn around 100 calories. Go without, and you might lose out on that little bit of extra physical activity, but most people find ways to keep moving in other ways. The notion that use it or lose it applies here is more myth than facts. Sexual function doesn't really degrade with a lack of sex, unless other health conditions are involved. What about mental health? This is where the story gets interesting. Sex is, for many, a mood booster. It floods the brain with dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals that make you feel happy, bonded, relaxed. Take that away for a long time, and it's possible some people might notice a subtle shift, maybe a bit less glow after a tough day, or less of that deep breath. Life's good feeling, but tanned. This is important. Humans are adaptable. When sex isn't part of the picture, the brain finds other avenues for connection, relaxation, and pleasure. Some people throw themselves into friendships, creative work, hobbies. Others nurture romantic relationships that are deeply fulfilling without sex. Not having sex doesn't automatically mean you'll become anxious, sad, or lonely. The real risk is only if you feel isolated or dissatisfied with your situation. Then there's the impact on romantic relationships. In long-term partnerships, sex is often one of many threads holding people together. When it disappears for months or years, some couples grow closer, finding new ways to connect through touch, conversation, or shared experience. Others might feel distance creeping in, frustration mounting, but this, too, is deeply individual. Plenty of happy, committed couples have little to no sex. Others would never stand for it. Now, you might wonder, are there medical downsides? If you look at the research, the answer is, for the most part, no. Sexual abstinence won't clog your arteries, raise your blood pressure, or compromise your immune system. There are some connections between frequent sex and improved immune function or cardiovascular health, but these are relatively minor. The major benefits of sex relaxation, stress relief, connection can be found in other ways. There are, though, some quirky effects. For instance, sperm count may dip slightly if ejaculation doesn't happen for long periods, but it bounces back fast enough. For some men, there is an increased chance of nocturnal emissions your body's way of hitting the reset button. For those with vaginas, the absence of sex might make the vaginal walls feel a touch less elastic, but regular exercise and general health matter far more in the long run. What about libido? Here's where the feedback loop kicks in. Sometimes when people go without sex for a long time, their desire for it dips. The less you do it, the less you think about it. The less you think about it, the easier it is to stay in the dry spell. But this isn't permanent. Libido can return with a change in circumstances, a new partner, or a shift in mindset. Let's talk about loneliness, because it's a real concern. For some, long-term sexual inactivity is just fine, maybe even a relief. For others, it can be a source of frustration or sadness, especially if it feels forced or involuntary. The key here isn't really about sex itself, but about prosocial connection. Humans are wired for intimacy, yes, but that intimacy takes many forms. Shared laughter, meaningful talk, a hug from a friend. These can replace many of the emotional benefits sex confers. So, after years without sex, will you be okay? The truth is, yes, if you're okay with it, if you feel fulfilled, connected in other ways, and at peace with yourself. There's no ticking clock or pressing danger. But if it feels like something is missing, it might be worth examining, not just your sex life, but your social life, your sense of connection, your self-image. Sexual activity is just one thread in the vast web of human well-being, and if you want to revive it, it's almost never too late. And if you don't, you'll keep ticking along, just as you are. Because what matters most isn't the number of months since your last encounter, it's how you feel, and the life you're living right now.